Hello, welcome to Boxing Life Stories. This week we're on the Hove seafront where we've caught up with one of the great trainers in British boxing history. Ronnie, thanks for having us round to your manor.
That's okay.
You're not actually the Lord of Brighton, or what was it that Senior was?
Lord of, I don't know what he was. Lord of the Manor, I'm the Lord of the Manor. That's a pub down the road, Angleton Manor.
Was it? What did you think when Senior did that and he got the title of the Lord of Brighton?
He does so many things I don't know. That was him, wasn't it? He was just different from everyone else, wasn't he?
But this has always been your neck of the woods, isn't it? Brighton,
Oh yeah,
born and bred.
yeah. I never moved from there. I love it here.
It's not exactly a boxing hotbed though. So what brought you to boxing?
My father was a top pro fighter, and he taught me as soon as I could stand up. Then I boxed at school, won schoolboy championships, junior C, and I carried on from there.
What did your dad do? Was he a full-time pro or did he work?
Yeah, he worked. No, everyone worked in them days. We all worked, and yeah, he worked in the mines, and he was a builder, and he was a top fighter from Wales. He was featherweight champion of Wales in about 1940s, I think. But then the war ruined him. To be called up. He was only 18 when he's called up, and he carried on boxing after that. Then he put his time into me.
What was he like then? Was he a disciplinarian?
Oh yeah, I had to be in bed till I was 21 years of age, and I lived at home. I had to be in bed at 10:30 every night, including Christmas. No parties, no drink. It was too hard, really, because I mean I had enough of it all the time. I was 21.
Yeah, life's too short.
Yeah. Look, he didn't know any different than people didn't in them days, you know.
Did you play any other sports?
I was quite a good footballer. Played for Brighton boys a couple of times. We had a good schoolboy team. But my dad said to me, it's got to be one thing or the other. You can't concentrate on both. So I concentrated on being a boxer, which is an easier route.
Were you naturally good at boxing? Did it come to you naturally?
Yeah.
Describe what sort of a fighter you were.
I was strictly a boxer. Counter puncher. I was a good counter puncher. Never got hit a lot.
Was that what your old man was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a very good left jab. Yeah.
Which fighters did you look up to back in the day?
Sugar Ray Robinson was my favourite. Master Sedan, people like that.
What did you like about Ray?
He could hit, he could hurt, he could knock people out on the move. Not many people can do that. When he knocked out, was it Coma Basilio? Yeah. Or someone like that he knocked out.
Oh, Fulmer with that left hook.
Fulmer with that left hook. Oh, beautiful. That was on the move.
Yeah.
Not many people do that. Great fighter.
What did your mum do?
My mum, she was just, my mum's dead now. Just a full-time housewife, so she was.
What did she think about you going into boxing?
Yeah, she loved it. She was brought up with it.
What was your first experience at the gym?
My father trained the amateurs down Hove Boxing Club. And I used to go down as a kid and watch him down there. And I used to go to the boxing shows at Hove Town Hall before he got burnt down when I was a kid. That was my treat on a Saturday night. Good days. That was my first experiences, yeah.
Your dad obviously had a good reputation locally, so everyone knew that you were his boy coming through. Did that put any pressure on you?
No, none at all. I just wanted to be better, as good as him, you know. Because I always remember at school, my dad was proud of this, and he said, the teacher said to me, what do you want to do when I leave school? I said, I just want to be a boxer like my dad, you know. That's all I ever wanted to be.
How did you shake out as an amateur? How many fights did you have?
I had about 60, 70. I reached the quarterfinals of Great Britain. It was Great Britain in them days. A couple of times, junior ABA finalist. I won a Southern County senior. I was running up South West London. I won 3 best stylist awards in top London shows. Quite a good amateur.
And you nearly crossed swords with Jimmy Tibbs, didn't you?
Yeah, that was in the junior ABA finals, but both the same weight, same time. I gave him one of the programmes, funny enough, a few years ago.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, he was dead chuffed. He said, I'll give it to my dad, he said. And I lost in the afternoon to a kid named Curry who beat Tibbs in the final, but I was very unlucky. I thought I got it. I know he will say that, but I did. Because Tibbs, he said to me, you should be fighting me tonight, and he lost to him and all.
When you turned pro, what was the dream?
To be a champion like everyone else. You all have that
a
dream.
World champion?
No, I know I wasn't good enough for that. But you still have that dream, you still at the back of your mind, you think maybe I could. So, you know.
The door might open up.
Yeah, I was so dedicated, that's all I lived for.
When you say dedicated, I mean, you've obviously said about being in bed for 10:30. Like, what What was the day like? And you said that you were working as well. So what work?
Yeah, I was a roof tiler with my father till I was 21, and I used to carry the tiles. I used to carry the tiles on our head then, balance them up and down ladders all day long. And he was the right hard taskmaster, you know. He's old school, and they cut me so fit. But that's what my job was, and my dad's job, roof tilers.
So you were carrying roof tiles on your head up and down ladders?
Up and down ladders all day.
Well, that, you know, there's this theory about that neurologists have that a strong neck gives you a good shock absorber.
Yeah, I always had a good neck. Still got a good neck now. Never got knocked out ever in the ring. I've only ever put down once right through my career.
But you've never had any...
I've still got up and won the round.
But you've never had any of your fighters going up and down ladders with tiles?
Nah,
that could have been the key. That could have been the missing ingredient.
I worked full time, and you read any of my reports, I never fought anyone in Britain fitter than me. I used to say Davis was punching as fast and as fit in the 10th round as I was in the first. Never, I could just go right through. That's hard graft and clean living.
So when you turned pro, your dad was training you?
Yeah.
And who was managing and promoting you? I saw you, obviously, you had some fights on Jack Solomon's
shows.
Jack.
So I fought for, my dad trained and managed me. I fought for Mike Barrett, Jack Solomon's. They're the main two I fought for.
Yeah. You won your first 3. They were all in Brighton. Good start, 2 on points and 1 via stoppage.
Yeah.
How did you feel racking up those first early wins?
Yeah, I felt good. Thought, here we go, this is good, you know. I found it easier when I started off than the amateur game because there were a lot of top amateurs about in them days, you know.
Well, you moved up in class and you beat 7-1-1 Tom McNeil, who was a useful operator.
Yeah, he was good, yeah. I boxed him on the, tell you what, people don't believe this, I boxed him on the Monday at Hammersmith after a day's work. Got up, went to work, and I boxed again on the Sunday, the following Sunday, for Mike Barrett down in Brighton. 2 fights in 5 days I had. And the second one was really, well, the first one was hard because he was good, McNeil. But I boxed Peter Richards from Bristol. He was an absolute animal, hard as nails he was. My dad said to Mike Barrett, we'd only take the fight if it's a reasonable opponent, and he wasn't. And Mike Barrett apologised to him. He said, I didn't know he was like that. But he was he beat me up, but I won the verdict, but I got beaten up doing it, you know.
Yeah, physical fight.
Yeah, he was a rough head. He was an old booth fighter, but he was good.
So all this time, you're still a boxer, like a pure boxer when you turn pro. So
yeah.
You say that this guy's an animal, so you're just outboxing these guys.
Yeah, yeah.
So you went to 6-0. Obviously, you mentioned the Peter Richards fight and then Peter Carney. That you fought them within a month of each other. At the start of 1966, we're going back a little bit now.
Yeah, yeah.
What was it like? Smoke-filled rooms and all that?
Yeah, I used to love the atmosphere. I used to love it. The smoking never bothered me. And I used to love going out to a full crowd. I never wanted to go out unless the crowd was full up. You know what I mean? I wasn't that confident, but I still wanted the full crowd in front of me.
Well, I was reading some of your clippings back in the Boxing News from '66 and '67. And they did say that you were a good draw and you were popular.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
What?
I was a good stylist, good boxer.
And people like that then?
Yeah.
More so than they do now?
Well, people appreciated boxing more in them days. I won the fight, I just couldn't be out boxing, you know.
When you suffered your first defeat, you lost to Al White, losing a 6-rounder
Yeah.
here in Brighton. How rough was that loss for you? And how?
Well, I wasn't too bad because he was 8-0 anyway. I think he was 8-0, wasn't he, or 7-0?
I think he was right there. Yeah.
He was a good fighter, Al White. He won about 21 fights without defeat, and he was ABA champion twice when I boxed him. And my original, we weren't supposed to be boxing, but my opponent pulled out the day before. Mike Barrett said, we can't get no one else. We don't really, my said we don't really want the fight, but we still took it. And I lost a split decision. They said in the Argus, my papers, another 2 rounds I'd have got a draw because I was coming right back. And he put me down. Put me down twice. I still got up, you know.
So you weren't too downbeat from
no,
losing because you lost to a guy who was
I knew he was a top boy, yeah, he was good. Yeah.
This is symptomatic of what the sport was like then. Just a month later, you were back to winning ways. It wasn't like, you know, you fighting twice a year or anything like that.
All the time.
And you beat Tom Sayers in a round.
That's right, from America, yeah. He was good. Cut him up with jabs.
Where was that? Was that here?
At Hotel Metropole, yeah.
Okay. You came across Tom McNeil again.
Yeah.
You had 2 more fights, and you drew with him and then lost to him.
I got drawn into a brawl with him at Hammersmith. My man went mad. He said, "What are you doing? You're getting drawn in." Anyway, we went toe to toe, and it was the draw, and they threw 35-pound nobbins in the ring, more than I was getting for the fight. I was only getting 35 quid for the fight, so I had 17.5 quid, whatever it was.
What did you spend on that? What did you spend that on? Do you remember?
Women and drink.
Well, and you wasted the rest.
I wasted the rest. No, I can't remember that.
Back-to-back draws, because then came Vic Chandler.
No, I thought, didn't I fight someone the other again after that?
Yeah, sorry, so you lost.
I lost on a cut.
Yeah,
I got cut eye, so I didn't lose. I was ahead on points. I've got to say that, ain't I? But I was ahead on points, and I got a bad cut that pulled me out. I was gutted.
Vic Chandler?
Yeah, beat Vic Chandler. I drew the first time with Chandler, but I had a very heavy cold when I fought him, and my dad wanted to pull me out, and I went, I don't want to be pulled out. I've done all this training. I want the fight. My first 8-rounder, and he was good, Vic Chandler.
And then you won 3 on the bounce, beating Chandler, Johnny McKenna, and Winston Lord.
Yeah, Johnny McKenna was good.
Yeah.
Cool, he was a good fighter.
Well, Boxing News said that you had a nasal operation before the Chandler rematch. What was that for?
It's a common thing. The bone goes across inside, and they just take I forget what it's called now. Because I had a really good straight nose. I said, it won't go flat with it. It sort of come out, it was down there like that.
Boxing News also described you in that Chandler rematch as a bit of a mover. Which is fair.
Yeah.
Against McKenna, Boxing News said speedy Ronnie Davies was a narrow winner after 8 fast and fierce rounds.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Who was the best that you fought, by the way?
Don't know. I fought some good kids. Malcolm Mackenzie from Edinburgh.
Okay.
God, he could punch.
All right, we'll come on to him.
Yeah.
Because boxing, funny. Before we started, you said that Boxing News didn't necessarily praise you to the hilt. They said in the McKenna fight, once he learned, this is a view, once he learns to punch with the shoulder instead of from the shoulder, he will make further progress. Was that true?
Well, their opinion, I suppose. Maybe they were right. I wasn't a big puncher. But
do you remember reading that?
No, I don't. No.
No. Okay.
Cross that out.
I don't know how to cross that out. I don't know how long we're going back now.
Yeah,
What's that, 67, 68, 67, 68?
Oh.
It's quite a way, isn't it? No wonder you don't remember it. I've put that to the back of my mind as
That's
well.
That's right. No, I only remember the good ones.
You beat Lord for the Southern Area title. You stopped him on cuts in round 9.
9, yeah.
It was a great fight with nothing between them in the end, said Boxing News.
Yeah, it was close.
But it was a big win for you here in Brighton in front of your own fans, the Southern Area title.
Yeah.
In many ways, that was the pinnacle for you, was it?
Yeah, I suppose it was, yeah. Yeah, it was good.
I mean, you said that you came into the sport to be a champion, so now you've got a title belt.
It was quite a big title in them days, Southern Area title.
Of course. So is that mission accomplished?
No, I still thought I wanted to win a British title and things like that, but didn't work out that way. I never had no proper sparring or nothing, you know.
Right.
I never...
Why not? Because you were from down this neck of the woods.
I was the only professional fighter in the town for years. I used to spar with amateurs, and sometimes when I won that title, I had 3 rounds of sparring for that fight. That's all I had.
With amateurs?
With amateurs. I never had no decent sparring, but I still won, so maybe I could have been a lot better with the right sparring. Obviously I would have been.
Yeah, of course.
I would have been world champion.
You could have been a contender.
5 times, 5 different weights.
Consecutive losses around Christmas 1967 to Malcolm Mackenzie and then the rematch to Winston Lord. Mackenzie was a former ABA finalist and he was 6-0. He was cut and many thought the stoppage was questionable, that he was in trouble.
He was. I thought I was going to win the fight, and is that what he said? I can't remember. Yeah, I had him hurt. There's another story to that I'll have to tell you on the quiet. You can't. Yeah, it shouldn't have been stopped. I went mad. I kicked my gum shit out the wind, had to restrain me. They couldn't get the next fight on for 5 minutes because of the booing. But we'd had a great fight. So it was mad. I got dragged into a brawl, but I'd never been hit so hard in my life. He snapped the root of my tooth through a gum shield. Root snapped it.
So was the fix in then?
Sorry?
Was the fix in?
The fix was in. No, I mean, he told me a story which I won't disclose. On his deathbed, because he died of cancer, bless him. He rang me up and I spoke to him, and he's saying I've got to get off my chest and tell you. And he said that fight shouldn't have been stopped, and I know the reason why. That's all and he told me the reason why, which I wouldn't repeat.
You won 2 of your last 4, losing the last one to Les Pearson on a cut.
On a cut, yeah. So out of my fights, I lost 6, didn't I? But I lost 3 on cuts. So it's not a bad record, is it?
Yeah, but they're not wins, though, are they?
It's going to be like, I'd like to stop this interview now. I didn't expect that, did you?
Well, why did you call it a day? You were 12, 6 and 2. You'd had 20 fights. It was 1970. You were still only 24.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Do you regret packing it in then?
No, I find it. I just got married then, and
It's a bigger fight on your hands.
bigger fight on my hands, and I was a bit of a womanizer in the days. I was pretty bad, really, and I started to like a drink now and then. And my dad said to me, "Listen, you can't do both. It's got to be one or the other." So I took the other, which is the women and drink. No, I wouldn't have drunk and anything like that, and I wasn't a bad womanizer. I did like the women who don't. And yeah, so I just found it hard doing a full-time work, coming home at night, being married and going to the gym. It was too hard. And we worked a 10-hour day in them days, and it was heavy work.
So was it a question of you just stopped fighting, or did you formally think, that's it, I'm just packing it in?
Well, I packed it in, and I was starting to get bored, and I started messing about with my brother Billy in the kitchen at my mum's house, and we was sparring. And my dad said, "Take him down the gym, try it." So I took him down and started training him. And of course, his mates all wanted to come down with me. So in the end, I had him and a fellow named Mickey Walker. He was a right animal, big puncher. He come down, all street fighters they were, and I got about 8 kids all of a sudden, and I trained them all for Hove ABC, and I had a quite successful run once the amateur. It was good, loved it.
That was your bridge into training?
Yeah, that was it. Then I had this one kid that come along, that's Mickey Walker. He could knock anyone out, but he was too hard to handle. He'd be doing his road work and going to a pub on the way round, but he was a character and he could fight. And I opened the first gym in Brighton for 28 years, got my pro licence, and within a year I become a trainer, manager and promoter in 1 year.
When you packed it in, were there hard feelings, or did you think that had you got what you wanted out of it, or were you a bit sour on it?
No, never done that. I found it was a hole to fill.
Yeah.
But I got it back again when I started training. I got that buzz back when I started training the boys, especially my brother there as well, because he was coming on well. And then, as I said, I went into the pro side of it.
You clearly have adapted well to being a trainer. Obviously, you've made a career of it. Yeah. Why did training come naturally to you?
I don't know. I suppose it's always in my blood. And my father, he was Welsh, and he taught me all the inside work, how to turn people on the ropes, all the cleverness which you don't see in the day. And I taught all my boys that. They were all clever. Every one of my boxers was clever. But and I just got great enjoyment and fulfilment from that.
I've heard you mention hand trouble, and you stopped taking people on the pads a while back.
Yeah.
Did you have hand trouble back in the day, or has that just been a consequence years down the line?
That was from Eubank used to mess my hands up, because it's still bent. My fingers are still bent up. That wrist is still swollen right up, and I was taking him on the pads. This is the old man, Chris. And he'd have a pad. His favourite pad had no padding inside it. And sometimes he was that tough. He would work the pads with bare hands, not even bandages on. You imagine that, yeah?
And he's got massissive hands.
Massive hands, and he dropped me one day with a jab. And get up, he went. Then he dislocated my finger, and I just went to him and I went, oh.
So I suppose that brings us on quite nicely to what was your first meeting with Chris Eubank Jr. Do you remember laying eyes on him for the first time?
Yeah. I was with Ray Catus. Do you remember Ray Catus?
Yes.
Good fighter he was. And he just moved down, and I said, come and work with me in the gyms, because I had about eight pros then, and this is years ago, isn't it? 87, I think. And he come in the gym because his brothers were training there, and he liked me, he liked the way I trained, and he went. He was called me Mr. Davis. He said, Mr. Davis, he said, I'd like to give you a month's trial. I went, what? Anyway, we started to get on well, and I said, listen, kid, don't try and beat me mentally. I said, the hardest upbringing you ever had mentally from my old man. And we got on great ever from then right through. He trusted me fully because I was always loyal and trustworthy, and and that's how it was. That's how it started.
Did he speak the same way then, right at the start?
Yeah. We both knew. He knew what I knew.
What was your first impression when he said, you know, I'm going to give you a trial?
Yeah.
What did you think?
I just sort of cocky.
Did you like that?
I mean, yeah, I did. I thought it was good. I thought, cause I thought, God, that kid's confident. And when he sparred, we all went, because you've been in America, you'd had 4 fights in America, but you'd had 9 trainers over there. No one could handle him. But I did though, because I knew when to shut up, when to tell him off, when to shut up, when to tell him off, because he was that unpredictable. You know, you got to know kids. I was always good at that. I think maybe I got that from years ago. My father had a building firm as well, and I was a gangerman. And I said some right hard men working under me and always dealt with them. So that made me, in life, made me deal with people that way.
Yeah,
you know?
Of course. At what point did you know he could not just fight, but really fight Eubank Sr.?
As soon as I saw him in the gym, I said to Ray Katoos, that kid's special. He said, yeah, he is. And then his first pro fight, I can't think of the kid's name, and he just stopped him in about half a minute with a right hand. How beautifully balanced he was. Boom, just took him out. And I knew then he was going to be special. But you still don't tell till you've been in the trenches properly. And I saw him a couple of times, especially when he fought Anthony Logan.
Yeah.
Then you really knew he would be a champion. I always thought he'd be a champion, whether a world champion, I don't know. But when he fought Logan, because that Logan was good.
Well, it's funny because Eubank said after the Logan fight, he said, to answer the question in short, I don't think many thought I was a particularly good prospect until the Logan fight, apart from Ronnie Davies, who thought I was the best he'd seen since Sugar Ray Robinson in the gym.
That's right. Not that I was in the gym with Sugar Ray Robinson, but,
but you can imagine.
I could imagine.
That prompted my next question. Did you ever see Ray in the gym? But who are some of the better fighters you've seen around British rings when they've been over? Because you must have seen loads of fighters come and go over the years.
What, in Britain?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, obviously recent ones, Kawasaki I thought was a great fighter. But there's been loads and loads. There's too many. I can't think. Pat Cadell was rated Pat Cadell, believe it or not, even though Howard Winston, Ken Buchanan, obviously, Brian Curvis. You had loads of great fighters, especially and I was there when he boxed Emil Griffith at the Albert Hall.
Yeah.
And who else? Les McAteer and people, a lot of names people didn't know. Dave Charney, he was before me. Oh, a lot of them were before me, but Dave Charney was a great fighter. There's loads.
You said before we started about you and Buchanan, you guys were in the ratings at the same time.
Yeah, he was number 4, I was 6. Vic Anratti was above me. Spike McCormack, it was hard. The trouble was, all the boys above you were good, and all the boys below you were good.
Yeah.
So it was hard.
Tough company.
Yeah, it was hard.
When did you realise that Eubank Sr. wasn't your average man? Not fighter, but man, just that he was just a bit out there?
I especially after a few meetings with him, I knew he was different, totally different from anyone of it. I'll tell you what he did. He had so much self-belief, and he would not be beat. He would argue and argue. I said, all right, carry on. I mean, Barry Ernest used to say to me, Ronnie, I can't deal with him. You're the only one who can handle him. You deal with him. I could always deal with you, mate.
Was he always motivated to train?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Because that's, when people see the ego and the trappings of success, then obviously that's often something that is sacrificed by a fighter, that they lose that motivation.
No, he was always in tip-top. He was mad in some ways. You get into the gym, he'd come back out, he'd have a couple of weeks off, 3 weeks off, come back in the gym, he'd start sparring, and he let the sparring partner start knocking him. I said, what are you doing? What are you getting it for? I have to feel the pain before I can get back into it properly, man. He has to feel the pain. Go through the pain barrier. He's strong. I said, you're going to finish up in trouble, mate. But he didn't, luckily, so.
But his dedication set him apart, did it?
Yeah. He was ruthless. You go to his flat. He lived when he first came home from. We go to his flat. Everything was in position. Everything was right. And if you look at my place, it's always dead tidy. He was like that. Everything in the right position. So he'd take that. And when he boxed, before the fight, or he was coming over his room in the hotel, he'd have a maid come up an hour before, and it had to be spotless, and he'd go mad if anyone moved something. It had to be dead right before he left.
In terms of training, what was he particularly good at in the gym?
He was good at everything, really. There's nothing he couldn't do. He was just tremendous talent.
Well, we've talked before about strength and conditioning coaches and that kind of stuff, and he wasn't one who subscribed to strength and conditioning coaches, was he? And neither are you.
No, I'm not really, no. I mean, but yeah, I'm really old school, and but it's always worked for me. All my boys, I remember Dean Powell saying one thing about Ronnie, all these boys are 100% fit, and all were. I never had a conditioner. But we used to work really hard on building sites, shoveling, digging, and, you know, as I said, up and down ladders, that made you fit and strong anyway. I don't believe in any supplements, things like that. I don't believe in all that.
Well, I remember when we talked, I was asking you about training conditioning once, and you said, my guys are fighters, they're not athletes.
That's right.
It's about as old school as you can get.
That's right. But tell you what, Senior agrees with me with that. They're fighters, they're not athletes.
How did the Michael Watson fight change Senior?
He didn't want to finish him off after that. He got anyone in trouble and he wouldn't finish him. And yeah, I stayed with him. He locked himself. I went and stayed with him down his house. Just locked himself in a room and come out. I just went and stayed with him. We've never talked about the Watson fight since that day. Never ever. We never speak about it. So I knew he didn't want him, and I don't want, you know, what happened, and that was it. Terrible.
Is it hard for you to think back to that night?
No, because to me, probably where I was brought up. I mean, we're both paid to do a job. It could have been Eubank said the same thing. He was just unlucky. That's life, isn't it?
That's
you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I don't feel good. I'm the one who said to him, "Get out, finish him, finish. You must." Because when I had to drag him back, he didn't know where he was. Eubank. When he got put down, he got up, and then the bell went down after he put Watson down. And I jumped in the ring. If you watch it, I had to drag him back, and I sat him down. I said, "Can you hear me? Can you hear what I'm saying?" He was going like, "Can you hear me? If you ever watch the thing." I said, "You got to stop him. You got to stop him," and he did. I never felt no guilt over that. That was my job.
Do you think that scarred him? You talked about him losing that sort of finishing instinct. Yeah. Do you think that scarred him personally as well?
Yeah. I don't know about personally. It scarred him to finish people off because he had Collins. Collins was gone. He wouldn't finish him.
You mentioned there about reading him the right act in the corner and telling him stuff. Some of your corner work has been right up there with some of the more memorable stuff we've ever seen. Notably, you've got this multi-millionaire coming back to your corner, and you getting up there and smashing him around the face with an open hand. That happened more than once, didn't it?
Yeah, a lot of times I give him a slap. That's because he was getting lazy. I said, "You're going to get a slap, boy, if you don't start." And he went, "Well, I'll go bang." Just go, okay. He really has to hurt him. I have to give him a right slap.
What is it about you that he respects so much? Because obviously the average man on the street or any other trainer couldn't have got away with doing that to Senior.
No. He just trusted me 300%. I mean, I was there when his kids were born. I was outside the room.
You were best man at his wedding, weren't you?
No, I can't remember if I was or not. I was there. I don't think I was best man. It probably was someone who was giving him a nice watch or something. He probably had him up there.
What was the world tour like? Because there was a lot of criticism about the choice of opponents and stuff, but I imagine it was a lot of fun to be a part of.
Oh yeah, it was always fun being with him. We used to laugh non-stop. Barry Earn said once, "Right, we're going to do a press conference now, and it's all about you, your life, and all that." And he said, and Eubank said, "Well, fair enough." He said, "I don't want Ronnie there." He said, "What do you mean you don't want Ronnie there?" No, he said he'd make a charade of it, you know. Because I was always messing about a press conference, and he'd go, "Don't you agree, Davis?" In front of all the people, I go, "No, I don't. I think he should not say that." And they'd be going, "Shh." I never shut up. I didn't care. I think he respected my loyalty and my honesty. I didn't care.
Yeah.
So I told him. He always used to say, "Ronnie Davies tells me things that I don't want to hear. Let all the rest tell me how good he is and suck up to him." I didn't.
What was the Nigel Ben fight, or what were the Nigel Ben fights like?
Incredible. The build-up, I mean, I'll never forget when he was, Ambrose Mendes come into in the dressing room to inspect the bandages. And Eubank got up and grabbed him by the throat. And I'll tell you what, Mendes never backed down. And I thought, it's not last effort. It calmed him down. I thought he was going to kick off there and then. Then the music was broke, wasn't it, coming into the ring?
That's right, yeah.
That was all fixed, that was somehow. I don't know who done that, but obviously, probably old Mendes knowing him.
Yeah, there was no simply the best, was there?
Yeah.
Did you always want Senior to vault over the ropes, or was that something?
Yeah, I thought it was great. He done that straight away as soon as he come over to this country.
And in terms of the world tour, was there a trip that particularly stands out that you enjoyed?
The Sunset he won.
Okay.
That was unbelievable over there. I think that was in the world. Yeah, it was in the world tour. Yeah. Good fighter that kid was. Cool. I told Barry not to take the fight, but we couldn't. He said, "Can't do anything about it. He's mandatory. You've got to take it." What was his name now?
Was it Dan Shoma?
Dan Shoma, yeah. But he was, I think he was 33-0, and he'd had about 300 on amateur fight. He was Golden Gloves champion and everything, wasn't he? It's best to leave them boys alone.
Was Chris a diva to travel with?
Was he a what?
A diva to travel with. He like high maintenance.
Oh yeah. So I was. Stop talking English there, my troops.
That's right. Yeah, no, was he?
Yeah,
he was high maintenance.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Go on, tell us a travel story.
We was always late, and he said, "Tell him to roll give him the ring, Ronnie, and tell him to roll the plane up." And I said, "Listen, mate, you can't do that, or a train." He said, "Tell the guard, hold that train." I'm like, "You can't do that, mate." And most times they did. They go, "Right, well, hold the train while we got." Always late. It drove me mad. And that's how I used to do. We used to go down his house to pick him up we used to have the old chauffeur limousine come down and pick us up. And he'd walk past his house with his belts in his hand, right? And he'd walk around the block where his other house was. And I said, "What are we doing this for?" "I've got to know what I've got to keep. I've got to win the fights to keep this. I've got to keep what I've got, his land and all that." And that's what I used to do. A lot of things like that. But it was always had a great laugh when we travelled, you know what I mean? And then another time we was coming off the plane, and he had his jumpers on and all that, and his own monocle, and he went, "Get my bags, Davis." Just call me Davis. All a wind up. And I was going, "Okay." And this American trainer went, I wouldn't carry any fighters' bags." I said, "Wouldn't you? Let me tell you something." I said, "I'm the highest paid bag carrier in the world, mate." And Eubank went, "Quite right." He went to the bloke like that.
In terms of Eubank, was there anything about him that infuriated you, that really wound you up? Because it seems like you have a real acceptance of one another, be it faults and all.
Yeah, he was always late for things, never on time. You know.
Including training?
No, he was always on time training, just different things. If he was going out somewhere or we had to have a press conference or something like that, he'd always be late. He'd never be on time. I was just saying to Barry, "Tell him the press conference is so and so and he'd be on time." And he just strolled in. I'll tell you what he did. I'll tell you about being able to work with him. When he fought Ben second time, Barry had ordered a private jet. People wouldn't believe it these days. So Eubank didn't want to go in a private jet. So he ordered, there's a load of us going out, he ordered about 4 of those small biplanes from Shoreham Airport to take us to Manchester Airport. I said, "I'm not getting in that." "Get in it, Davis, it's quite safe." He went. Well, I'll tell you what, we was late again, but we come in so low over Mossad, I'm sure we clipped some washing lines. It was terrible. And we still arrived there, we were getting out these whole planes from Shoreham. He loved it, just because he had to be different.
Did he ever?
He was still late then for the weigh-in.
Even with his own plane?
With his own plane.
Did he ever let you drive his lorry? Did you have any interest in doing it?
I was there when he brought it. I told him not to buy it.
He typically didn't listen to you again.
Didn't listen. I said, "What do you want that for?" And I'll tell you what.
Can't park anywhere.
No. He said, "I want a lorry." I said, "What do you?" So we went to this place at Fort Lauderdale. We was on holiday in Fort Lauderdale. I was always to go away with him. And he saw this truck and he said, "Oh, I want that." So the bloke went, and anyway, he went off the salesman. I said, "There's rust on the bumper, mate." "It's been there a year." He said, "But it hasn't been used." I said, "Well, it ain't new then, is it?" And I made him change it over and get another. He was going to buy it, he didn't care. But he got away with it. I said, what are you going to use it for? What are you going to do? And he had it shipped over, he spent fortunes on it. It was quite clever because I think out of advertising he paid for it.
Yeah, I suppose all the press coverage it
yeah.
got. You're still talking about it now, 30 years on.
I refused to get in. I wouldn't get in it. I'm not getting in at Eubank. No, I'm not getting in that track. And I wouldn't.
Did you call him Eubank?
Yeah, I was calling him Eubank.
And he called you Davis?
Called me Davis.
It's
very rarely.
Such a weird couple.
It's
brilliant.
Very rarely called me runners. Go, "Eubank?" And you go, "Okay, Davis, I'll be done in 2 minutes." Or saying, "Oh, that was funny."
I remember talking to Chris many years ago, and he was saying really, when it was around the time where people were saying he hadn't fought the top Americans, but he was very clear that he was happy fighting less dangerous people for more money. He's never hidden that.
No, what's he want to do? That's good business, isn't it? What's he want to do that for? You had Tony, you had Nunn, you had loads of top fighters over there. You don't want all them, do you? You're going to have a short career. It's about, you got to protect yourself in this game. He was a great fighter. What's he want to go and ruin himself for? And I honestly believe at his peak he could have held his own with anyone. But if you're having them hard fights, it's still going to take a load out of you, isn't it? I remember saying to him, he was working a bag once, a really heavy bag down in Hove Gym, just with his bare hands. I mean, that was a solid bag, no bandages, no. I said, you can become a legend, if you want to. I don't want to, he said, I just want the money, he said. And I said, look, if you're a legend, mate, the money comes with it. But he was just funny like that, he had his own way.
But he did do things his own way and he has become a legend.
Yeah.
Did you know at the time when you were going along that journey exactly how big the journey was, being part of the ride?
No, I probably didn't realise, but when it started off, I thought to myself, it's going to be big, because everywhere we went, people wanted to know him. It was ridiculous. Even when abroad, everyone was coming up. But he was just an absolute showman, wasn't he? He got away with it. I mean, at the times, when he fought Rocky,
Gianni.
Yeah, when he fought him, and the bell went, I went, go on, mate, go and show him who you are. And the bell went for the first round, because they all booed us into the ring and all that. Of course, he loved it, didn't he? I didn't care. I was mad them days myself. Anyway, the bell went, and he just stood in the corner. I went, get out there. He stood in the corner, and he started to come to the centre of the ring, and he just sauntered round and glared at him. And I said to my corner woman, Mickey Walker, I said, he's got him. He's got his head, done him. And he did. He just beat him up. And he was a good fighter.
Would you have liked any of those Americans at all?
No, not really, no. I think it was best what he did. To me, there was no point.
Because the money was over here as much as
money was over here.
On the world tour.
Yeah, and I didn't want to go to America. Well, I love it here. You know what I'm like, I won't go out the door. That's what Eubank said the other day. He won't go out of his door if he can help it. I will, but don't like travelling, don't like going abroad.
Did you want the Kawasaki fight?
No, I wasn't there for that fight. We fell out, that wasn't a real fallout, but I walked away. And he said that was the worst 2 years out of his life. And I went with him for the last 3 fights when he fought Kawasaki. And I went down his house and told him not to take the fight. But I think the money was phenomenal what he got. And then I'd stepped him up to light heavyweight to fight that, what's that kid's name from London? Can't think of his name. To fight the light heavyweight when he came back over here. And he was offered Kawasaki, and he only rang me up. He said, he's going to fight Kawasaki. I said, listen, I've just stepped him up to light heavyweight, so he's going to come back down again to fight a young, really good young southpaw, totally weight drained when he fought him. And I told him not to take the fight. Then he goes from super middleweight to cruiserweight, one of the toughest ones out there in the country. Thompson was good.
Nice. Yeah.
And he still went, but I won in the corner for them fights. I didn't.
Did you watch them?
No. I didn't want nothing to do with it. I just walked away. And he, when we got back together after that, and he put in his book, it was the worst 2 years out of his life. And he said, because I walked away from him, when we were in Dubai, I said, you're getting ripped off, mate. It's no good out of you, do your money. And he said, in hindsight, Ronnie was right.
How hard was that period for you?
Horrible, hated it, because he was a big part of my life for 10 years. See him every day. He only had to pick up the phone and I'd be there for him, no matter what time of night, I never know what.
Yeah.
I was getting so much money then, I had to, didn't I?
Well, money does talk, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I
love being with him. I love being at that level.
Tell me about the Steve Collins fights and this hypnotherapy and all the rest of it, and how that played a role or didn't play a role.
It did play. I think it played a role. I mean, I got the news on the dinner hour. I want to tell you who it was. Andy Naylor from the Evening Hour. He said, Chris, have you heard about this hypnotherapy? I went to Andy, shut up. And he went, well, he obviously didn't realise it'd get to him. What's this? What's this? He went. And he went to me, I can't have another Watson in my mind, because he always thought he was, not on drugs, but he was hypnotic, but he just went on, he fought like an animal, and he phenomenal work rate. I don't want that in my face again. And he went, I don't want to fight a man. Don't want to go in with the unknown. And he was going to pull out. And I've done everything. And I said, listen, mate. I said, once you give him a good shot up the belly or something like that, that's going to go out the window anyway. I said, it's all rubbish. I talked him back into it. It was hard. And he fought Collins. And he was all right. And he put him in the dressing room before the fight. The referee came out, a young referee from America. He said, I'm a stickler for this. If anyone goes down, you cannot box. I will not take the count up to your backs firmly against the ropes. And he put him down. I don't know what round it was, and he just walked about the ring like that, and I'm banging the canvas, banging, get over here, get out, and he wouldn't. He just walked about, and he finally took the count up, and it's too late then. And he walked back the corner, and I went whack, and I smacked him so hard, and he fell in the ropes. I said, just threw it, mate, blown the fight. But the boxing news, and the newspapers, and the TV had Eubanks 2 rounds up in front. We didn't get the verdict.
If you could have not had any of the fights in Chris's career, including the ones you weren't there for, which ones would you have taken away? Thompson, yeah, the 2 fights he took away. I didn't mind that we fought otherwise. Thompson, Kawasaki, they weren't right for him. The weights weren't right. It was unfair. What is it that makes you? Because I mentioned about Chris being tolerant of you and the way you treated him, but what is it about Chris that makes you so tolerant of him and being late and being eccentric and all the rest of it? It seems like you just get a good kick out of it, being around him and enjoying the eccentricity.
It's just going with my head. I didn't care. And he used to be in a bad mood sometimes and just say, Ronnie, I'm sorry, mate, I was out of order. I said, listen, mate, don't worry. So you like to me, just win the fight. I said, I'll tell you what I will do. I said, I'll get you get in their moves again. Keep antagonising me. I'm going to get you a hamster and put it in a cage. I'm going to give you a little stick. Keep poking that through the cage. Then you're going to have to wind me up, will you? And he went, and it really, he really said, that's really put me down. He went, oh. I said, well, don't do it again.
How are you and Senior now?
Great, gotten great. Yeah, I still love the old kiddie.
Is he your best friend?
Yeah, I suppose, in a way, yeah. Yeah.
You say that a bit
Well, the rest are dead.
Oh dear. So
I've got some good friends. He's one of my best friends.
When you and I first started talking, it's a few decades ago now, but you've had numerous fighters, and a couple of the guys that were around at the time were Henry Castle and John Paul Temple, and
yeah.
your gym was really busy back then, early 2000s, I guess, or early to mid 2000s. Tell me about Henry.
Good fighter, Henry Castle. See, people forget. They think people now just think I had Eubanks. I've had loads of good fighters over the years, and Henry was good. Cool, terrific left hooker, but he was a bit wayward, unfortunately. But if he hadn't been, he'd definitely been a champion without a doubt.
Yeah. Obviously, we've mentioned a lot because I'm going to go and see him. But Tony Oakey too. Great
fight. I love Tony Oakey. Brilliant. He's come up and stay at my house. So did Henry Castle, and. Yeah, for a man of 5'6" to achieve what he achieved as an amateur, and he wasn't the most dedicated, and but he still always pulled it off. Tremendous fitness.
It's something I knew about, but I'd forgotten about. But you and Oakey had quite a nasty little split for a while.
Yeah.
And it was to do with him thinking that you were covering your arse by working with him and Neil Linford at the same time.
No, he was wrong. I'll tell you, we had the row in my house. My son will vouch for that. I'll tell you what happened. I was training, I had a row with Maloney over it because I was training Neil Linford and Oakey. They were sparring together the same gym, and he made the fight. I said, what are you doing that for? What are you doing? Don't ask me to make a decision, but I've been with Oakey the longest, so I was obviously got to be with him. So anyway, we're getting ready for the fight. He's come up and stayed in my house. And we're in this very room. And I mentioned something about Oakey. He said, I said something about Linford. I can't remember what it was. That's it. You're still in favour of him. He was a bit paranoid. I said, don't be shit. And he went into one. I said, go on. I said, get out. I had a row with him. I said, get out of my house. I shouldn't have done that. So it was my fault. My fault we split. And he did, and I wouldn't back down after that, and nor would he, so we split. But we got back together as great friends after that.
Yeah, he said that you still speak regularly.
Yeah,
now.
He comes up and sees me. I love the old good fighter.
Let me ask you this, right? So we talk about fighters in this sport reaching the top, and like on the way down, after they've had the fame and they start losing a few at the end and all the rest of it, and then they go from the big nights to the smaller nights again.
Yeah.
What's it like as a trainer when you've been to those massive nights, those big Eubank nights with Ben and all the rest of it, and then the next time you're training a kid in a 4-rounder in the Mountbatten Centre? Yeah. Is it surreal? Do you feel like, oh, it's a bit of a come down, or are you just as keyed up for that as you are the big ones?
I'm just as keyed up, and I'll still give them the same amount of treatment and loyalty and dedication from a 4-round kid to a world champion. Don't make no difference to me. I just love the business, and I love being around fighters, proper fighters.
Do you think though, when you're in some of the smaller venues doing some of those smaller fights, you think, God, this is a long way away from some of the places I've been and some of the places I've seen?
I've never had that feeling. I've always been a very content man as regards things like that. I'm easygoing. It doesn't, as long as they win and give me 100%, I'll get in with a kid now who's a 4-round kid. I did a few months ago. Johnny Ward, who's a good prospect, and coming from what I've gone to that, it was. Tony Oakey used to say to me, "How can you get up for training us?" I said, "I've got the same ambition. I'm 74 now. I'm still ambitious now. It's a bit stupid, but."
And then you mentioned there that you were there when Eubank's kids were born, including Junior. Yeah. And I understand you were involved a lot in his childhood. You'd take him to horse riding lessons and to all sorts.
Yeah.
So you've
taken him to school every day. When he was born, I was outside the room. I was outside with Eubank, Shoreham. And they smack him when they cry, didn't they? I said, "Hark at that." I said, "He's a bloody coward." I said, "He's crying already." I said, Eubank's win. We was in hysterics outside the room because they smack him, didn't they? But they just burst into tears. A good kid he was, lovely kid.
But you did all that, so it shows exactly how ingrained you were with the family to be doing all that stuff.
Yeah, he trusted me with everything. He trusted me with kids that was taking to school.
Did you worry about senior spending back in the day?
Yeah. Getting back to, I was conning to that, taking his kids to school. I'll tell you what I did. Because I said, "Listen, Chris, you're starting to earn a lot of money now, or you've earned a lot of money." I said, "You've always got to worry about your kids being kidnapped, because I have to cover every angle." And "That's right," he said. "You take them to school every day." So I had to get up and leave my house, take them to school. I couldn't get out of it. "You've got a job to do, Davis. It's your job." I said, "That's not." "Yes, it is," he says. And I wouldn't go back on what I said. So but I just enjoyed taking them to school.
A father and son similar at all?
Stubborn wise, yeah. Stubborn, both terribly stubborn.
Are you as stubborn? Is that why you get along with them?
Yeah, I am in a lot of ways. If I make my mind, I'm very easy going. But if I make my mind up, then I don't back out of nothing.
Did you watch them on Gogglebooks?
No.
You never saw that?
I never saw it.
You missed out. I think you would have got a kick out of that. I think you would have enjoyed that. Who had the greater potential then, senior or junior, in terms of potential when you saw them at the start of their journeys?
Senior.
Why?
But don't forget, I had junior. He was only 16 when I started training him. But senior was already there when he was already had 4 pro fights. Yeah. So I couldn't. But you could see at junior Ed what he was. He sparred with Oakey once, so I had him sparring with Oakey. He was dead chuffed, Oakey was. Just took him when I was only a kid.
How did that work out, that sparring?
Yeah, it was good. He loved it. But
what Oakey did or Eubank did or both?
Yeah, both did, yeah. I mean, he was only 16, but we just played around with him. Oakey did, but it was good.
Who had the greater ambition at the start? Because they're fighting for very different reasons, weren't they?
Yeah. I didn't know. Junior wouldn't speak, but I knew. Me and Senior were very close. We knew each other's minds, but I could never get close to Junior because he wouldn't speak to you. He didn't speak to anyone. I said, "Why don't you speak?" We used to travel down to Southampton and I wouldn't get 3 words out of him. And I used to say, "Why don't you speak?" "I've got nothing to say unless it's something important." He used to say, like yourself. People used to say he was rude and ignorant. Maybe he wasn't. Arrogant, maybe he was. But I want my job to worry over that. My job was to make sure he was ready for the fight, which he always was. Make sure I got him to the gym. Make sure his medicals were in order. Make sure I'd done everything for him. Make sure the sparring was there. And it's the hardest part sometimes when they say he never had great sparring. Sometimes he didn't. And that was his fault because he used to beat the sparring partners up. No manager or trainer in their right mind is going to send a kid down, even though he's paying him good money, to get his boy beaten up, are they? I wouldn't.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of times I couldn't get the best sparring.
Yeah, because on your watch, he sparred the likes of Froch, Groves, and all sorts.
De Gale, yes, good boys.
Well, obviously, him and De Gale had that famous sparring session that resulted in them fighting years down the line.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So Eubank Jr. has replicated some of the stuff that his dad's done, the vault over the ropes and the music and all the rest of it, but he's not replicated the eccentricity, is he?
No, he's not.
Why do you think he's not gone for that? Because it worked for his dad, didn't it?
Yeah, but I think you can only have one, Eubank. I've never seen anything before or like him since. Things he used to do, I can't. Well, we're over and I was in Jamaica with him, with his wife and kids. When he went on holiday, I had to go. He always took me with him. He wouldn't leave me anywhere. I had to go with him. So we're sitting down on this cafe place, and we see all these kids diving off this massive high cliff into the sea. I'm going to do that. I went, are you mad? I said, them kids know where all the rocks are and things like that. I'm going to do it. I went like that. And I was only interested in my percent going down the drain. That's what it was. So he's walked over there, took his shirt off, and he'd done a swallow dive, and I couldn't believe it. Mad. It was just a little. Another time, he'd done a bungee jump off the seafront about 2 months before the Ben fight. I went, what are you doing? And I had a major row in front of all these people. I said, I'm ringing Barry Hearn now. I said, that is total madness. You ring who you like, Davies, he said, I'm doing it. And he done that straight off on a bungee. I mean, he had to put something out. I mean, the fight was like, I said, well, that money's on the line, mate. Well, that money's on the line. You can't do that.
So you worrying about your percentage again?
Yeah. So it was. He didn't care about he was fearless in the ring and outside. He didn't care about anything. Nothing ever got to him.
Let me just put some of these names to you and let me and speculate how you think he might have done with them. James Toney.
Very hard fight. Hard to win that fight. He might not have won that. I don't know. Tony in his prime was very special. I thought he was one of the best of the lot.
Michael Nunn.
I think he could have beaten Nunn. Slick southpaw.
What about Julian Jackson?
Another phenomenal puncher, but Eubanks always had a chance because he had a better chin than all the lot of them. Cast iron, you couldn't hurt him.
Where was that? Okay, tell me about the sparring session with Senior and Harold Graham.
I wasn't there for that because that was up in Sheffield, and they just went up on his own.
What was the report?
The report. Brendan Ingle was a good old pal of mine. Said Harold Graham stood him on his head. Well, he would say that, wouldn't he, as his trainer and manager? So I didn't really look a lot into that. You know what I mean? But I know Eubanks put him on the floor.
You and Brendan, how far? I guess you guys go back you guys went back a long, long way.
I've got a program upstairs, and a program which I found recently when my father was fighting in Ireland, and there's an Ingle, Johnny Ingle, on the same bill, right? Freddie Mills was doing an exhibition. My dad was on it, and it's Johnny. And I said, he said, that's my brother, Ronnie. He said, well, a coincidence, isn't it? But we go back, we was fighting at the same time. I go back and fought in the same bills earlier on. It's a good fight, very clever. Brendan, good pal of mine, and his Elmer. I love it, gotten great with them.
What makes a good trainer? Because you and Brendan are very different people.
Yeah, but he always respected me and my views as I did him, you know what I mean?
But you each have different qualities.
Different qualities, yeah, we're not the same. I think a lot with me is, you get a lot of trainers, so you've got to remember a lot of trainers ain't boxed. Now, I've boxed, so I've got this, I know. You cannot train every boxer the same. They've all got their different things. And if they're doing something wrong and getting away with it, let them do it. Don't try and change that. Because once you start, if you train them all the same way, all these boys, they're going to box the same way, aren't they? You're not going to get, like Naz. How could you train Naz? He didn't do too bad, did he? You couldn't train Senior because you could plant things in his mind. I always remember that referee, the South African one.
Stan Christodoulou.
Yeah. He come over here in Manchester when I was training Eubank. I had him on the pads and that. And he went to me, Ronnie, he said, you're one of the best trainers I've seen. I said, what makes you say that? He says, because you say something to him and you plant it and you walk away and you make out it's his idea. I'd done that with Eastman, Howard Eastman, because I trained Howard Eastman. He was a good fighter.
Yeah.
And I said something to him. He was another one who wouldn't listen. I said to him something once. Yeah, he went like that. And 3 weeks later in the gym, on the ropes, he went, that was in the bank, Ronnie. It's another. They're all funny. You've got to know all these people. And he was an ignorant so-and-so, Eastman. But we still done well together.
How many fights do you have with Howard?
13, 14.
Okay.
He won the British and European with me.
There's a lot of stuff about Junior about how dismissive he's been of you in the past.
Yeah.
Has that stuff hurt you?
Yeah. Be quite frank, yeah, I didn't like it. But I stuck in there because, a lot of it I stuck in there because I was so loyal to his father that a lot of times I wanted to walk away.
Yeah, because he said stuff like this, and I got a quote here. I had so much success through my entire career without a trainer. Not having a trainer is basically just giving an edge to my opponent. That stuff's got a sting, hasn't it?
Yes. If I was going down the gym every day, sorting his sparring out, getting him ready, make sure he's in the gym, sorting the medicals out, doing every single thing for him, doing the check weight, I've done the whole lot. If that's doing his groundwork, sorting his sparring out, being with him, investing, what's that then? What am I doing? Eubank said, the old man said to me, Ronnie, you are his trainer, he just doesn't know it.
What do you think of this Roy Jones link-up?
You can't keep going from trainer to trainer. That doesn't work. He went from me to Nat Vasquez, right? It was all right. Not my cup of tea as a trainer, because you had him fighting. He's a boxer, Eubank. He's not a fighter. And now he's got to Jones. There's something wrong with the makeup of a fighter if he's got to keep changing his mind with trainers.
Has Junior reached his ceiling?
Yeah.
Because he's going to move from trainer to trainer?
Yeah, I think that's as far as it's going now.
Does it bother you that your name is associated with the Eubanks and nothing else? In terms of, you mentioned you've had some other good fighters along the way.
No.
Is it a compliment that you're up there with the Eubanks?
I love being up there with them, but I know loads of people know what I've achieved, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
They don't know what I've achieved as a boxer. They think I've just come along and trained Chris Eubank. I haven't. I've had loads of good fighters. You know that. You go back from when I was, I had a gym full of good fighters.
Do you ever do anything with Scott Welch?
No. Yeah, when he first turned pro. Barry Jones said to me, would you train, but I had Eubank, would you train Scott Welch and Mickey Aldis?
Right.
And I went, yeah. And I started training and it wasn't working because Eubanks wanted me there all the time with him, socially. And he phoned me up saying, 1 o'clock in the morning, can you come over here? And I'd get out of bed and go over and see him. It never worried me, no, because I used to love that type of great lifestyle.
So, junior and senior, compare them as people and as fighters.
As people, I don't know Junior. I've been with him since he was born, but I'm not as close to Junior as I was his father. But then again, I went through all the world. I've been through a hell of a lot with Senior, and there's quite a lot. I mean, don't forget, I was only how much older than Eubank? 20 years, and I'm 40 years older or 50 years older than Junior. So there's that. We're not on the same wavelength like that. But I still love the kid. Think the world of him. I was there from day one.
You still wanted to go over to him, go back in the corner, and you give him a slap, but you haven't though.
No, he wouldn't stand for that anyway. He wouldn't like that. No. Don't hit him like you used to hit me. You wouldn't like that, Ronnie. That's the old man said.
Has he said that to you?
Yeah, he wouldn't like that. He wouldn't.
What's the toughest part of being a trainer? Because obviously you've been through it all, and like you said, all the different levels, the big stuff and the not so big stuff.
Knowing that you've always got to be there, and sometimes you're having a good social life and you've got to cut things short. Sometimes that's how it is. If you want a world champion, I've always said this, you've got to be as dedicated as them. You've got to always be there. That's why Senior loved me. I was always there, no matter what. I was there. You can rely on me. And when you're in that corner for a fight, especially you've got to know that man has got your well-being and what you are. I was there for him all the time, never missed a day. If I said I'll be there at 10 o'clock, I'll be there. I'm very, very disciplined. You've got to be the same as a boxer. You want a world champion, you've got to act like a world champion yourself. That is my opinion.
Who are some of the trainers you've admired over the years?
Jimmy Tibbs. Bobby Neal. My man, my father. I don't know really. I never really studied other trainers. You don't, do you? But I mean, that sticks in my mind. Tibbs is a good trainer. Yeah. Old school. He's like me. Very old school.
It's not been a bad ride though, is it?
I've had a great time. Listen, if I die tomorrow, if I keep drinking this whiskey, like I probably will, I'm here for another 20 years, mate. Don't worry about that.
I've got some questions here from some of the guys that follow us on Patreon. Roy Summers asks, how did you feel about Senior being so involved with Junior in the corner on fight nights?
Yeah, that was always good. He was always good in the corner. It's great. It's great. It's great for the public. Public loved it. Us all getting in the same room together. And like, yeah, he was good. He was all right.
But I suppose what Roy's talking about is maybe where it looks like he was controlling the corner and running it. Because, people say it's best to only have one voice in the corner.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? And I mean,
yeah, it was always me before.
Yeah.
But listen, Tristan is his son, and he's going to want to do that, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I'd have preferred for me to just do the talking, but it don't work like that with him, so that's it. But I was still telling him in between rounds what I thought, and he said me, what do you think? What do you think? And he'd tell him.
Yeah.
So, I was still very involved like that, so.
Will Buckley says, what were the differences between training Senior and Junior?
Senior was a lot easier to train because he would do what he wanted to do, where Junior would do his own thing.
Ryan Nash, who out of your stable of fighters over the years do you feel didn't reach their full potential?
Tony Oakey.
What would you have said Tony's level was? Obviously,
amateur. I think he could have gone on to be. He was a bit wayward, Tony, at times, and I think if you got a 300% or 100% dedicated Oakey, and I think he was held back in some ways. I don't want to mention no names, promoting why, but he was held back. And at his prime, all you had to do was get him 100% fit and let him go. And he'd hold his own with anyone. Because I always remember in the boxing news once, I don't know if you wrote it or not, how long was you still doing when he was fighting?
Yeah, I covered a lot of Tony's fights.
Right, maybe it was you. And if you said it, this was, I always remember it. Because of his work rate alone, he could hold his own with any of the current 4 world champions.
Yeah.
Did you?
No,
was that yours?
It wasn't me. I think that might have been Tony Conley, but I did read that
anyway,
recently.
that's about right. He could have done because of his work rate. You couldn't. He was phenomenal fitness. He was a freak.
He also had that ability for a shorter guy to be able to out-jab a taller guy.
Jab, yeah. I thought he was good.
Dewey Powell says, and this is a complex question, I guess. Did Ronnie feel it was appropriate for Eubank Jr. and Senior to hold a press conference when Nick Blackwell was in a coma? They go on with that, especially as it was against the wishes of the family. It was my understanding that several people, including Mick Hennessy and Robert Smith, asked them not to, and they said they wouldn't talk about Nick, and then they spent an hour talking about Nick. Do you remember that whole night?
Yeah. I think the fight should have been stopped earlier for a start by the referee or the corner. That'd been my boy to pull him out. I expected Eubank to tire because he had a great engine, Blackwell, but he was just getting beaten up, wasn't he? Should have been stopped. It was unnecessary punishment he took.
The press conference?
The press conference. I don't think that should have happened out of respect for his family's wishes. But he done it, and that's it. But Eubank always does his own thing, no matter what it was. That's what probably made him, because he was ruthless. That's probably made him what he was as a fighter.
Sure. Jamie Ingleby asks, what's the favourite fight that you've seen or been involved in during your time in boxing?
Favourite fight? Barrera's and what was it?
Morales.
Yeah, that was a great fight. One of the greatest fights I've seen.
Yeah, they had the trilogy, but everyone says the first one was the best one.
Unbelievable, yeah. Watched it in this front room.
Jamie Ingleby asks again, is there anyone Senior didn't fight during your career who you thought he should have? And he's mentioned here Tony, Roy Jones and Iron Barkley.
Yeah, what's the word about Jones? Ben stopped Barkley, didn't he?
Yeah, in a round.
Any of them? Say that again, Tris, sorry.
James Tony, Roy Jones, Iron Barkley. But I suppose if you could have matched him with one of the top Americans, I guess with what you said, maybe Michael Nunn was the one.
Michael Nunn, yeah.
Neil Williams, how significant are injuries in the lead up to a fight? Chris I'm guessing we're talking senior, always looked in fantastic condition, but how much do injuries play a part and influence a successful camp?
When he fought Watson the first time, he had a severe bruise and been sparring with, what's his name? Can't remember his name. Simon Collins from Wales. And his chest was all badly bruised and he had trouble with his neck. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning, no one knows this, putting ice packs, hot water bottles all over him. And I said, Chris, you might have to, I'm not pulling out. And he went ahead with the fight. That's the first Watson fight. And when he fought Steve Collins, he had the flu. I had the flu, his wife had the flu. He called his private doctor up to his house. And he come over to me, the doctor, and he said to me, Ronnie, he says, you got the flu, Karen's got the flu, he's just got a cold. I said, he's just told you what to tell me. I know what he's told you. And I begged him to pull out, and he wouldn't. He said, no, I'm not pulling out. I begged him to pull out all my life. That's not, and he would never, ever, he would tell me off because I disclosed that. He didn't want anyone to know. There's no excuses, I lost. I said, well, not to me, you didn't. So I was just being, I always tell the truth. I'm not hiding behind nothing, got nothing to hide behind.
You know, people have talked about how hard Eubank Jr has sparred and how he's an animal in the gym. What was Senior's work ethic like with sparring? You said obviously he'd have this warming up phase where he wanted to go through the pain at the start, but after that, what was sparring normally like for him? Was it technical, tactical, or did he get in the trenches?
He'd get in the trenches. I mean, you had Chris Pyatt come down, that absolutely, Pyatt was good. You remember Chris Pyatt?
Yeah, I spoke to him the other day, yeah.
Great fighter. They had absolute wars. Old Christie had, when Christie was in his prime, they had wars. He knocked Eubank's tooth out, he did. He had wars a lot, and Cornelius Cut, Andy Flute, but there was a lot of good fighters about then. It was so, people were saying to me, we're getting junior sparring partners. When Senior was boxing, I only pick up the phone, I'd have any top middleweight in the country come down here. He paid them good money and put them up in a hotel, but, you know, I've had boxers come down, they started to get beaten up. And they said, I'm going back home. I said, you've got to go back home to your family and say you got beaten up. You've only been down here one day. Let's go back to the hotel. I said, I'll tell you what to do. As soon as he starts one low, just move the jab and move out of the way. Shoot there, don't let him set. I said, because once you let Eubank set and flow, you've had it. You've got to keep him off, don't let him settle.
You mentioned
shows how good a trainer I am, doesn't it?
you mentioned Andy Flute there. I know he listens to the podcast. What do you make of Andy?
Oh, he was mad. He come down and see me a few months ago.
Did he?
Yeah, lovely fella. I got a great lot of respect for him. He was as hard as nails. And I'd be out, and I was always out on the town round Hove. And he'd be down there sparring with Eubanks, and he'd walk in the bar at 11 o'clock and order up a large brandy or something like that. And I go, Andy, you're down here sparring with Eubanks. What are you doing? If I'm no good tomorrow, then send me home. That's what he was like. He was an absolute drunkard, wasn't he?
He was. So he's obviously.
But he could fight.
He's told his story, isn't he? He's got a book.
Yeah.
But, he was an alcoholic who's now born again.
That's right. Yeah.
Ever been religious?
Me?
Yeah.
Nah. I don't knock it, but it's not for me. No.
Tim Lane asked this, and I'm sure that you've probably got a list. In fact, I should have asked you to get a list ready. What's the most bizarre thing that Senior did whilst you were training him?
Bizarre? I'll tell you, I don't know if it's the same thing, bizarre or not, but I mean, I remember one day we come back to his house, we'd been to London, he just bought a pair of boots, riding boots, £500 riding boots, you know, with his Joshua's. And we couldn't get in his house, his gates were locked. So I said, look, climb over the wall, I said, and put your boot in my hands, and I'll lift you like that. And he put his boot in there and he went, are your hands clean, Davis? So I lifted him up. He did. Lunatic. He was mad. And before that, this is not, maybe bizarre, I don't know. We used to go to this, where he bought his boats from in London, these boots, these riding boots. He was a German fellow, very, very rich man. He had his own factory and all that. And he said, walk in there, and he sit and he put his feet up on his desk like that, the bloke's desk, talking, dealing with him, and he'd barter. Don't keep bartering with me. And he used to sell it, all the royal family and the cavalry, he made all the boots for all them. Only that 3 weeks ago in that very chair, I was speaking to Prince Charles, and Eubank went, don't mention him in the same breath as me, he went. That's the truth
brilliant.
from my life. That's what he was like.
That's brilliant.
Bizarre, I don't know, there's so many things, I can't think of one. He was just different.
You do have a book in you, don't you?
A book, what's right?
Yeah.
I haven't got a pen.
I'll lend you a pen.
You lend me a pen, I'll write one down.
No, I mean, but what an extraordinary journey, like, and you're here now, obviously, in a really nice, comfortable house this is Brighton, isn't it?
Yeah, Hove.
Yeah. So we're in a nice, comfortable cottage in Hove, and it must feel like almost surreal that you've led that life where you've had that level of fame and you've been touching, or you've been walking that sort of celebrity tightrope for 30 years, where you've been linked to it. And it's got to be surreal when you sit here and it's quiet and all the rest of it, and you're sat here in your jodhpurs with your monocle and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
You ever own jodhpurs?
No. No. Mad. He was mad when he first got all that stuff. What are you doing? You'll see, Dave. You'll see. He had to be different, but that's what made him. He was very clever. He always had a plan in his head. And you talk to him sometimes and you think, you are absolutely off your head, you're mad. The average Joe Pipe will think he was mad, but he wasn't, because always what he said somewhere down along the line, it would come true, or he'd make a load of money out of it. He was very, very clever.
Brilliant. Okay, well, Ronnie, thank you so much for your time, for having us around.
That's been great. Thanks for coming up. Do you think I got better looking as I got older?
Thank you very much, Ronnie.
Well, that's
appreciate that. Cheers, mate.